Tobago updates. Good morning, Tobago. Wake up with Candace and Denicia. Let's go!
Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates. Well, viewers, today is March the 1st, which means the hunting season is closed. So this is gonna give us an idea of what's happening with the hunting season, some things that you need to be aware of as members of the public. We have on set with us Miss Lillian Greg Roberts, Game Warden 1 from the Department of Natural Resources and Forestry, as well as Mr. Jester Alman, Game Warden 1 as well, from the Department of Natural Resources and Forestry. Good morning and welcome to you both. How are you guys?
So far, so
Fine,
good.
thank
Good morning.
you.
All right, so I'm going to start with you, Mr. Alman, just to give us an idea of what's happening now that the hunting season is closed. What is expected?
What is expected as the hunting season is closed is that hunters who've been hunting during the open season had a permit to hunt is to return the permit as soon as possible or the 31st of May of this year. Also, that they are not to hunt as the season already closed. And restrict the hunting dogs and, in other words, not to go out to hunt until the season is open, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. All right, so Miss Greg Roberts, Craig
Roberts.
Roberts, sorry. Could you give us an idea of, what are some of the fines that are in place for persons that are caught hunting or caught with wild meat in their possession?
Well, the fine is normally $100,000 for anyone caught hunting in the closed season, or they could have up to 6 months imprisonment.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone also caught with meat, because as it is now, for the month of March, those hunters could have their meat, right, until the end of March. They have a whole month to dispose of their meat, whether by eating, selling, whatever. But after March, if anyone is caught in possession of any wild meat, they can be charged $100,000 or 6 months imprisonment as well.
Now, we often hear about these fines and the imprisonment stipulation there or punishment there for being caught with the meat and so on. Do we ever catch anybody?
Yes, we do. We do, and we take them to court as usual.
Mm-hmm.
But what usually happens, the magistrate usually give the fines eventually.
Yes. And then now, Mr. Allman, you also spoke about need to fill out those data forms and so on. Why is that so important to do?
It is important now that we are in modern times is that data. So we'll have records of, in other words, a wildlife stock to know which species we have in abundance and which species like we don't have in abundance. So we keep our data and the areas to know. So have a record to know which area we have, for example, like the agouti, the armadillo, and so on. So we could always have a record to say, hey, the last 3 years or the 4 years, we have an increase in the agoutis. For example, like now where we have the iguana. Because of the records, we realize that the iguana is not as stuck, in other words, overpopulated, or in other words, as an increase because of the overhunting. So that's why we restrict the iguana to the 31st of December because of a shorter spell, because of the lack of iguana it have around.
Mm-hmm. And are there any changes being noticed in terms of the nesting season for some of these animals, especially the iguana?
What happened? Well, we work along with the hunters as well. So yes, sometimes the iguana start nesting early, like a month earlier, in order for well, because of the climate change and so on, so the iguana start nesting earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, we did the hunters as well as our researchers as well to do the what do you say, the maths, then the research.
Certainly. Now, Ms. Craig, uh, are people complying with these regulations, or do you think that people are cooperative, or are they just trying to do things on the low?
Well, both. We have a lot of the hunters who actually comply with us, bring in a mandatory form when the time, put up the data. Well, what we do when we sell permit, we encourage the hunters to put in the data. So, because most people may think that we want to find out where they're hunting, that we may be able to send other persons there, but no, that is not the reason. The reason we need to have an idea of how much animals we have out there. So that is one of the ways that we keep the data. So we will have more information. So we encourage them to fill out the mandatory form and bring it in for us.
And now, Mr. Ahmad, what have you noticed over the years about the change in the species? You already spoke to the iguana, but what about in terms of the armadillo, the agouti, all these other things that we have within our system, our ecosystem? Like, how has that changed in recent years?
Okay, in recent years, what happened with, for example, doing our research is that, for example, the agouti. Farmers complaining because there's not much food in the forest, in their natural habitat. So they came out now to where the farmers are planting the food. So because of that, farmers complain to us. They are dangerous in terms of dealing with their crops. They destroy the crops a lot. But the armadillo is okay. But the agouti is the main one they talk much about. And then we're talking about wildlife. We have the parrots, and then we have the cockatoo and so on. So food is the main problem with them in the main ridge, the forest. So because of lack of food, because of hurricane and past weather condition in the past, they are then to the main ridge and the food population in the forest, to the areas in Tobago.
No, I mean, as you spoke about pests, I mean, we hear it all the time, especially from the farmers, where the parrots are distressing the farmers, for lack of a better term. But is there any suggestion that is coming forth from the division as to how we can treat with that, as to even using the hunters to be part of, I don't know, helping to control the population? What are some of the things that you guys are looking at?
First of all, what we encourage the farmers to do is to come in and make a report, right, about whatever animal that have given them problems. And when they come in, we will now give them information how we could assist them and how they could assist themselves as well. But we don't leave them out there to just do what they want. That is not what it is. They come in, they make the report, and then we will be able to now inform them on what they can do, give them if it's a special permit or whatever, or we ourselves could go out and assist them.
So what about the idea of culling? Because in some places they use culling, where you're allowed to basically hunt a certain percentage of a species that may be a little bit out of control. Is that something that is being taken under consideration?
Well, yes, we are thinking about that too, but we need more researchers and involved in it as well. So we also keep our data. Even though we call in, we must be able to know. That's why we need the same data form as well. So we could have a crop stock of what we have and so we want to go over the amount. So that's why we use the data forms, come back to the same data forms, so we could have an idea. Hey, let's say the area like Charlottesville. Let's say Charlottesville is, you use a figure like populated with agouti. And farmers, as we all know that agouti, as you said, is a pest. So we could say, hey, Charlottesville have 400, we could bring it down to 200, at least 200. So we have to go to the same hunters and other persons, farmers who we give the authority to call in, so we could keep and monitor them then. so we could know when to stop and when to continue.
Okay. Now, how important it is that we have a close-off date for hunting, that they have a season. Um,
The reason for that is that, like, what you call life is that repopulate. So, in other words, the breeding stage, so that they can introduce and then more can grow. So it always come back to the same as data. We keep monitoring.
all right. Well, as I get ready to wrap this conversation, I don't know if there's anything that I missed. Is there anything that you want the population to know, as you know, we're heading, well, as a season just ended, and they have 1 more month to get rid of their meat.
Well, ma'am, as a game warden being out there, the season is closed. To the members, we are going to be working along with the TTPS once we get the assistance to enforce the law that the season is closed and they adhere to it until the season is reopened. Because we need the wildlife to be with us for generation unto generation, because we wouldn't have been here if the generation before did do what, in other words, eradicate them, call them out. We wouldn't get any for today. So we need that the farmers, the hunters, even the what do you call, the farmers who mine the agoutis and them, to in collaboration with us. So we work as a team to enforce that we have, in other words, for tomorrow.
All right. And then if there's anybody who has any issues or complaints or reports that they need to make, is there a number that they can reach out? Is there a way they can get in contact with you guys?
Yes, ma'am. My number, my personal number is 348-6511, or the department number, which is 6, just now I'll give you it. It's 27, just now. Leave my,
Too many numbers in the head.
yeah, but big call mine. My one is 348-6511. And then when they contact me, I will give them the department number as well.
All right, great.
What I like to say is that any issues, they are welcome to come at Chauvin, where we have our office, and lay their complaint as well. And I also want to reiterate what Alma would have said about bringing in the mandatory form. They have until the 31st of May to bring in that mandatory form, and also bring it in at the same department office at Chauvin. Normally, hunters believe because they purchase the permit at the Inland Revenue Office that they take it back there. But that is not so. They are required to bring it in at the Chauvin office.
All right, great.
Thank you.
Well, thank you both for being on with us and just giving us an update on what's been happening with the hunting season, and hopefully the message gets across there that it is closed and people comply.
Thank you.
All right. Well, viewers, don't go anywhere because we have a lot more coming up for you after the break.
Tobago updates.